Hey friends, welcome back to another video. If you're new around here, my name's Yusuf, and on this channel you'll find a variety of content around study, careers. I talk about all things family, give you guys general life advice, and what I try to do with each video is leave you guys with tips and tricks to help you become the best version of yourselves. If that all sounds good and well to you, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and join the family. Okay guys, it's story time today, and I know what some of you are thinking as you've read the title. Surely you didn't consider leaving a job that pays you so much money. Come on man, you cannot be that crazy. Before I dive into this, I'm going to need a lot of disclaimers and I'm going to need to preface a few things. First thing, I understand the risk involved in making a video like this, and even putting aside the chance that my current employer sees this video, and that isn't even my main concern guys. The one thing I really don't want people to take away from this video is that I am an entitled pride. Because I'm everything but. Actually no, who am I lying to? I'm probably made up of 2% entitlement. That's about it. The problem for me is our generation has been deservingly labelled the entitled generation. We're allergic to hard work, we want promotions every 6 months, and no amount of money is enough to make us happy. Again guys, those traits are not reflective of who I am. I pride myself on being one of the hardest workers in the room. And this is something that has been instilled in me from very early on. The reasons why I actually considered quitting my job, which I'll share with you guys in a second, are all completely genuine. And my hope is that by sharing this, it can help clear things up for people who find themselves in similar circumstances. I also hope that it helps people looking to enter the corporate world manage their expectations, because I personally went in blind for the most part. So yeah guys, I'm not doing this to brag, and you'll realize very shortly that I'm not in actually any position to be bragging. I've got honest intentions, and if you guys can relate to anything I'm about to say, let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, let's get straight into it. Let's start with a brief work history. I work as a Big Four consultant, currently at Deloitte, and have previously worked at both PwC and EY. I won't go into any more detail for this video, but if you're interested in all things careers, I'll link a few videos down below. So yeah, my consulting journey started in 2014, over 6 years ago now. So I like to think that I've been around for long enough to know what I'm talking about. Before starting my journey, I knew squat about consulting, the Big Four, very little about the corporate world. Literally nothing besides the Big Four had good market presence. The things I wanted to get out of my first role were to be continuously challenged and to find myself in positions where I was continuously learning. Second, the job would put me in an advantageous position to make career moves later on, leveraging the brand and the network that I'd built up. And finally, I wanted a role where my engineering background would give me a competitive advantage or a slight edge on the competition. When I actually go through my list in hindsight, I got all of those things in bucket loads, but I also got bucket loads of other not so pleasant things. I didn't go in with high expectations. I was just there to see what it was all about and help me decide whether it was something that I wanted to do long term. But in saying all of this, could you say that the fact that I wasn't so precious about the Big Four, consulting, the corporate world, made it easier for me to actually consider leaving? Absolutely. But there's a little bit more to it. Time for me to reveal exactly what it was that made me want to run for the hills. The first of those things is the time investment required. This was an absolute game changer for me. And again guys, just to reiterate that I'm not allergic to hard work and smashing out long hours, but this was well beyond all of that. 60-hour work week? Cash. Leave the office at 2 AM and get back at 8 AM? No drama. Sacrifice your weekends? Didn't even think you'd ask. And just to give you guys a better idea of what I'm talking about, the snippet I've got on the screen is an email from an EY project manager to the project team. As you read through it, you'll realize that they can be absolutely ridiculous sometimes. One piece of critical context though guys, the Asian working culture is worse than it is over here, so they do get worked a lot harder, but there are definitely similarities in the way we work. So yeah, this huge time investment meant that I had very little time to commit to anything else outside of work, and I'd constantly find myself sacrificing the other components of my life and sacrificing my physical health by getting 2 hours of sleep. If you really wanted, you could get away with working normal-ish hours, but that goes against everything the Big Four is all about, and there are unwritten rules against this. Senior members in your team will begin to shun you, and you'll find that you'll constantly be nudged closer and closer to the exit. So yeah, the question I'd constantly be asking myself is, does this time investment have a good ROI for me? What do I actually get in return for sacrificing the bulk of my life, the good years of my life? For starters, I'd make it higher up the corporate ladder. get a fancier title, and some more dollars. But at this point, I'll also be working just as hard, if not harder, so I immediately begin to think, when is this sacrifice actually going to end? And personally, I place more value in the present day compared to what could potentially be 10 to 20 years down the line. Nothing about that is promised. What if I continue to make this sacrifice and one day I have a change of heart? Or something happens in my life that forces a change of direction? Was this a wasted investment? Not entirely, but I feel much more comfortable knowing that I'm taking full advantage of the present day and making the most of right now. Also, another point I'd like to add is, I'm not saying that long-term career goals are a bad thing. Absolutely not. I'm saying that the investment required to get you to the end goal has to be worth it for you. A good way to answer this question is to start with the end in mind. Picture yourself as a hotshot CEO, and then try to picture the incremental blocks of effort spread over 20 years. This is the effort that you need to invest to get to your end destination. If after doing this you still think, damn, being a top dog is so worth the investment, then you do you. But in my case, I'm not so sure. Okay, so what's next? The good old pay to effort disparity. You guys are gonna love this one. But Yusuf, don't you get paid a ton of money, and in which case, can't you just wipe your tears with dollar bills? Yeah, right. Most corporate roles pay you a salary, which is made up of a base amount plus a component that is put aside for you as retirement funds. The salary itself is supposed to cover you for 37.5 work hours per week, which you can broadly take as the average working hours across most industries. But what about when you have to work overtime? Weekends? Public holidays? I mean, surely not. Come on now. There's absolutely no concept of time off in lieu or rostered days off. So when you take your base salary and divide it by the actual number of hours you work per week, which is a much more accurate representation of your remuneration, that number is no longer as appealing. As an example, I average about 65 work hours per week. When I divide this by my weekly salary, I'm sitting at about $30 odd per hour. You can go ahead and reverse engineer those numbers and get a rough idea of my salary, but I'll save you the time because these numbers are readily available on Glassdoor anyway. So don't get too excited. So yeah guys, I'd like to think that my efforts and my experience demand a little bit more than what I'm getting, but alas, there's really not much you can do about it. What's next? The rigid, and I mean rigid, ways of working. Before I begin to sound too negative about this particular topic, I have to come out and say that the firms that I've worked at have made a huge effort to embrace agile and flexible ways of working. Working from home, open office spaces, special leave entitlements, and so on. It's definitely not all doom and gloom, but the other side of the coin? How you work, where you work from, and I know it's beginning to sound like I've got the same things as both pros and cons, but hear me out. The hours, the intensity, these are things that are largely determined by the client you are working for and your boss, who will bend over backwards for the client 90% of the time. If the client wakes up one morning and has an epiphany and says the document that you've spent all night working on needs to be redone, strap yourself in because you will redo it. At the business commercial level, I understand why it works this way. It's pretty obvious. Clients, they pay your bills and they're core to our existence in the market. We exist to serve them. But at a personal level, being at the complete mercy of anyone and the direct consequences it has on how and when you can actually do things really dampens the experience for me. Personally, I do my best work when I'm afforded autonomy, I can go through and prioritize my own backlog, and I'm in control of most of the variables. So for this reason, it wasn't working out so well. I feel like I've been talking forever, but we're going to round this video out by giving you the last reason, and that is politics. Not just any politics, exhausting politics. Now, there are quite a few things that live under the broader umbrella of politics, but for me, a couple of things that really irked me were one, the fact that this place was the furthest thing from a meritocracy. And when I say meritocracy, I'm a very big believer on being rewarded based on merit. We've all heard the saying, you only get out what you put in. I wish that applied in consultancies. If you are someone that works hard and that is all you do, you don't engage in any of the fun extracurricular activities, you will go absolutely nowhere. You'll find yourself treading water. Nobody really gives a damn about how hard you work. They place way too much importance on things like networking, social events, ass kissing, playing mind games, all things that I personally cannot stand and struggle to cope with even in small doses. So this in itself is a huge struggle for me. And the other annoying thing about the politics is it fosters an environment where you can trust hardly anyone. Now, you can't completely blame your colleagues or your peers because the system they've established forces you to behave in such a way where you're constantly trying to outperform your colleagues and outwork them, and you are more than willing to do underhanded things to achieve this outcome. This benefits the organization massively because they get maximum productivity out of the resources and they don't even really have to do anything to achieve it. The system itself just works so well. And at the same time, drives me nuts. And there you have it, guys, a few reasons why I considered quitting my high-paying corporate job. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. Let me know what your favorite part was down in the comments below. And perhaps let me know if you considered leaving your job and what it was that triggered you to think this way. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.